If you haven't heard about Anchor, it is the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. Number one, it's free. There's a creation tool that allows you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Now, Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so you can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many, many more. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. anchor.fm to get started today. Now, let's get to the broadcast. In today's podcast, I'm going to be talking about 3 tips to selling you to an employer. Did you know that employers hire all of you and not just your skills you possess? Have you ever taken the time to brand yourself? Whether you know it or not, your skills and character define your brand as you as an individual. Now, in the podcast, I'm going to share with you 3 tips to creating unique selling points that define you as a person and how to communicate your skills to prove that you meet that employer's needs. Now, tip number one is to identify the employer's needs for the job or career that you want. In other words, you will need to review the job description. When you're looking at a job description, a lot of times don't get overwhelmed because you see things on there that you may not know how to do. Just choose those things that are characteristic to the things that you actually know how to do. Sometimes an employer will put a lot of extra things on there that may help to screen someone out or sift someone out just because they feel that I don't qualify. So the first thing is to review that job description and then conduct an investigative interview to what makes the person ideal, not simply just qualified. What makes you an ideal person, not just qualified. Now, if you want to learn how to conduct a cold calling interview, just check out the previous podcast on 3 steps to career cold calling. Tip number 2, identify your selling points that meet the need. And it may seem like a lot of work, but if you save a lot of time, if you narrow the scope of your focus, if you choose those selling points that you possess that actually meet the need after you've gone through the job description. Tip number 3 is to qualify your selling points to make sure that they are believable and verifiable. For example, this means numbers or percentages like handling up to 35 calls an hour. You can list different machines that you know how to operate, programs that you use, whether you were paid for using them or not. If you've learned how to use a particular program, computer program, you can list those too. Comparisons, I sold 15% more than the industry standard, or proficiencies, things that you are very proficient in, like typing, 50 words a minute, being employee of the month, etc. So those are the 3 tips that I have for you to help you to brand yourself to an employer. Thank you so much for tuning in, and you have a great one.